My stepfather said I'd never make it without his money, so I sent him a postcard from my new penthouse with "Wish you were here" crossed out. Harrison had married my mother when I was 15, bringing his corporate empire and controlling personality into our quiet suburban home. He immediately started reshaping everything, replacing our furniture with his expensive taste, enrolling me in private school without asking, and making it clear that every opportunity I'd ever have would come through him. "You're nothing without the connections I provide," he'd say during dinner, cutting his steak with surgical precision. Remember that. When I graduated high school, he had my entire future mapped out. Business school at his alma mater, summer internships at his companies, eventually a position in his firm where I'd spend my life grateful for his generosity. I had other plans. Art school wasn't even a conversation in Harrison's house. It was a punchline. When I mentioned wanting to study photography, he laughed so hard he choked on his wine. "Photography? That's a hobby, not a career. You want to be a starving artist living in some cockroach-infested apartment?" My mother sat silently, as she always did when Harrison held court. She'd stopped fighting his decisions years ago, worn down by his relentless need to control everything. I applied to art school in secret, using my part-time job money for application fees. When I got in with a partial scholarship, I told them I was going. Harrison's face turned red. "Fine, but don't come crawling back when reality hits. You want to throw away everything I've built for you? Do it without a penny of my money." He meant it as a threat. I heard it as freedom. I moved into a tiny studio apartment that smelled like cigarettes and had a radiator that clanged all night. I worked 3 jobs: campus bookstore, weekend catering, and night shifts at a 24-hour diner. My hands were always stained with chemicals from the dark room or grease from the fryer. Some nights I'd fall asleep over my contact sheets, too exhausted to make it to bed. The other art students had trust funds and expensive equipment. I shot with a battered camera I'd bought at a pawn shop, developing film in my bathroom because I couldn't afford darkroom fees. When my enlarger broke, I taped it back together and kept shooting. But I was creating something that was mine. My photography professor, Martinez, saw something in my work. She entered one of my pieces in a national competition without telling me. The series, intimate portraits of working people in my neighborhood, won first place and a cash prize that covered my rent for 6 months. That victory changed everything. Suddenly, other professors were paying attention. Gallery owners started returning my calls. That led to gallery showings, then magazine assignments, then corporate clients who paid more for one shoot than I used to make in a month. By graduation, I had a waiting list of clients and enough saved to put a down payment on a small condo. Harrison called exactly once during those 4 years. "Still playing with your little camera?" he asked when I answered. I hung up. 5 years later, I just signed the lease on a penthouse downtown, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a dedicated studio space, and more square footage than Harrison's entire house. I found the tackiest postcard I could, a sunset with glittery letters spelling out, "Having a wonderful time." On the back, I wrote his name and address in my neatest handwriting, then scratched out, "Wish you were here," and wrote, "Thanks for the motivation" instead. The next week, my mother called. "He's been staring at that postcard for 3 days," she said quietly. "I think he finally realizes what he lost." I looked out at the city lights stretching to the horizon. "No," I said. "He realizes what he never had."